Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome into hour number 2. Where does the time go? Handicapping Major League Baseball is a lot of fun and a lot of damage we can do over the next 2 hours to set you up for a profitable and prosperous Sunday. It is Easter Sunday. I know a lot of people gathering around, but always on holidays, we love to include some Major League Baseball. So hour number 2 is underway. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Tom Vecchio. You're watching right here on the SportsGrid Network, Sirius XM channel 159, and so many platforms to watch us on, which includes X, which if you're watching loud now, hey, how you doing? Wave to you right there. Tom, how we feeling? Hour number 2. We're just getting started here. We are.
We're just getting started. A full day of baseball. It's not 15 games today. It's actually 16 because we have that doubleheader for the Nats and the Rockies. We have to get to both of those games, see some pitchers in action. There was 1 million runs scored yesterday. It's Coors Field, a place where we saw a ton of runs on Friday at Wrigley between the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. I don't know if we're going to be getting runs today. There are some major weather issues today.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at those, but also yesterday, my guy James Wood, long ball, Josh Bell, long ball. You got some power bats there for the Nationals here. And also, that second game does have a little bit more intrigue than the first game for me because it looks like it's going to be Lord and Sensatella, and maybe we could get some runs here. But as Tom pointed out, extra baseball, nobody ever says no to that here. But let's get started with some extra baseball, apparently here in Arizona and in Chicago. It's Kelly and Tyone on the mound, 9:05, 9:06, a 2:20 start. This line opened up as about a minus 120 favorite here towards the Cubs. It's higher now, as high as minus 145. The total in this game, 7.5, 7.5, depending where you're shopping right now, which is interesting because it's Wrigley. That just means one thing, Tom. The wind is blowing in, and temperatures are cooler today, but also rain in the forecast. Let's start here because we're going to review what happened already in the series between these two. But when you hear wind blowing in, is it an ultimate no for you right off the bat in betting for player props, or you don't worry about that as much at Wrigley?
I worry about it at Wrigley more than the wind blowing. It could be 60 degrees in both spots, but if there's wind blowing in, there's data that shows historically that Wrigley is affected by wind more than the average ballpark, even if they were at the exact same mile per hour wind. So I immediately am hesitant on Wrigley wind blowing in, especially when it's cold, especially when there's going to be rain as in today. But even if all things were neutral, then it comes down to the pitchers, right? And Merrill Kelly is a pitcher that a lot of people have had faith in, but I really haven't over the course of his career. He's got a 5.15 xFIP this year, and it's dramatically worse than what we saw from him over the past few years. The strikeouts can be there. I know he put up a ton of strikeouts against the Marlins. That doesn't necessarily impress me. And now we're going up against one of the best offenses in the league with the Cubs. So I'm out on Kelly. I'm also always been out on Jameson Taillon, a pitcher that just gets hit around a lot. May never give up a ton of home runs, which may not happen today with the wind blowing in, but the Arizona offense is also great. So despite the low total and despite the weather, I actually do like some production today.
I like production today, and there are 7.5s out there, but also FanDuel still reporting back at a 7 here. Take a look at the previous 2 games in the series. That wild one on Friday, which was 13-11, as we pointed out, 21 runs scored between the 7th and the 8th inning, which was incredible. Yesterday, the Cubs pick up another victory at 6-2. I always like to say, the wind blowing in doesn't help you at Wrigley, but guys still can get singles and doubles because the wind isn't 70 mile an hour, where it's like, hey, you hit a pop fly. It actually, instead of going the second baseman, lands up in the bleachers behind home plate at this point. It's not that bad. So when I look at Merrill Kelly, and again, 30 pitchers on my card today, Kelly's 29th, 21 innings pitched, a 5.57 ERA, and a 5.15 xFIP number. You look at the lineup against right-handed pitching, the Cubs have absolutely hammered it. So if I'm looking at players I like, it's Tucker, it's Bush, it's Pete Crow Armstrong, it's Kelly in that lineup. But by the way, Carson Kelly, 30 at-bats against right-handed pitching this year, Tom. How about an 864 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 766? Now, when we flip it to the other side and say, well, Jameson Taillon is probably a better pitcher, and I would agree with that. But look at the lineup anticipated. First 8 batters in the lineup, every one of those, Tom, high ISO power numbers against right-handed pitching. I'm just playing percentages at this point. Yes, double-digit wind blowing in, cooler temperatures, some rain in the forecast. I'm going over 7. I really like that.
I really do too. And we've talked about the Diamondbacks lineup time and time again, how good they are. Corbin Carroll gets on base. He steals second. Perdomo's coming up, who has a sub 6% strikeout rate, never wasting pitches, can get on base. Yep. Naylor's awesome. Lourdes Gurriel, maybe struggling a little bit, but he's still got a ton of power. We know that Eugenio Suarez doesn't hit for high average, but he hits for a ton of power. You add in Pavin Smith, maybe it's going to be Randall Grichuk. They have a ton of options. They can hit for power and average.
If this game ends 3-2, so be it. Donnie shouldn't have taped that. The weather conditions were too cool at this point. But I just look at the batters myself and say, again, Arizona's lineup, where you're just taking an under in an Arizona game, it's 11.5. I understand. No, it's 7 here. So would you be surprised, Corbin Carroll and the boys in the first inning played 3 runs and away you go? No. So I'm just playing the percentages. I like the way the Chicago lineup looks there. 3.5 is a team total for the Cubs. I like that. And then the opposite side, even though, as I said, Taillon is a better pitcher per se for me than Kelly, but I just look at the lineup and say, boy, they should be able to do damage regardless here. So I think we're in tune for some runs. And again, some runs means 3-3 on both sides. You got yourself a push at that point. Heading into extra innings, you'll probably end up taking down that total as well. Let's talk some more totals here with one of the best hitting teams in Major League Baseball. That is the Dodgers. 925, 926 on the rotation. A 235 start from Texas. It's Glasnow versus Molly on the mound. 8.5 at the opening number. Still sitting at 8.5 at most books here, but BetMGM I'm seeing now showing a 9 as the total. The favorite, -146 to -150 overnight. Slight changes here. -160s, -162s, going up for the Dodgers here. Dodgers, Rangers today. What are we looking at for you, Tom?
We're looking at one of the best series that we've seen, really, this to start the year. We had a great pitching performance on Friday night between Yamamoto and DeGrom. We had a walk-off from Adolis Garcia, a 2-run home run to win it last night. And now we have 2 good pitchers. I'm going to say one great pitcher in Glasnow. He is struggling a little bit. And then Tyler Mahle on the other side, who is having, I'm going to say, a borderline reclamation year, where he has 19 innings pitched this year, which is more than he had all of last year at 12.2. He only had 25.2 the year before that. He's been dealing with a ton of injuries. He has a 28% strikeout rate. Glasnow on the other side, over 30% strikeout rate. However, the walks are both an issue for both pitchers, over 10% on both sides. And listen, as good as Glasnow is, as good as Mahle appears to be this year, is kind of returning to form, allowing hitters on base for free with these 2 lineups is a really, really dangerous game. Ohtani is expected back in the lineup after he was on paternity list for the past 2 days due to the birth of his daughter. I have a ton of interest in Ohtani today, and one specific Ohtani prop, which we'll get to later in the show, at a massive difference between books.
Now, when you take a look at that lineup, too, because the Dodgers, they present themselves well against lefty and righty pitchers. But today on the card, let's just say Mahle, the right-handed pitcher, and on my card, have him as the 9th overall guy with xFIP, which isn't playing Glasnow, actually coming in at the 14th. You look at that lineup, and it is so powerful up and down. But then you take a look at Mahle's statistics from this year. ISO 045, weighted on base percentage 193, but he is going up against an elite offense. Who do you give the edge to at that point? Is it just, you know what? Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Conforto, Edman, all sky-high numbers against right-handed batters. I'll trust them. Or do you trust the hot pitcher at this point, specifically with some of those analytical numbers?
Give me the Dodgers, right? And maybe it's not the Dodgers, but if this were an equally team that maybe not, is there anyone equal to the Dodgers? But if there was an offense that I deemed at that tier, Yankees, Dodgers, maybe, I don't know, maybe Arizona if the circumstances were right, maybe with the Braves, I would side with the Braves, the Dodgers, the Yankees, wherever it might be. I'd go down with the ship with the Dodgers rather than trust a pitcher who is doing well. But again, this is the best he's done in literally 3 or 4 years. So I would expect regression from him rather than Betts, Freeman, and Ohtani.
Yeah, let's flip it over to the other side there with Tyler Glasnow, who we know the pedigree there is certainly, above average. He struggled this year with left-handed batters, which then puts that Corey Seager into play. Maybe Jock Peterson here, he doesn't have great numbers against right-handed pitching, a couple switch hitters in that lineup. Do you find yourself sometimes saying, eventually he's going to get right, I don't want to bet against him? Or is it one of those opportunities where you say, like, this could be a time where you get Glasnow until he absolutely figures it out?
I think Glasnow gets right. I think it's more of just the, hasn't had super long starts. He got pulled early in the start against the Phillies. He had a bunch of walks in that game, if I remember correctly. He needs to get in a rhythm where he has extended outings, and that's where he really finds his groove rather than, he had a couple rough innings, all of a sudden his pitch count is at 50 after 2.
Yeah, it should be interesting to watch it play out today. Shohei Ohtani coming back, maybe dad strength giving him a chance at a multiple home run day today against Molly, who's been really good. We'll find out a little bit later today. More baseball on the way next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And it's Pro Baseball today, Sirius XM Channel 159, SportsGrid Network. Donnie right side, Tom Vecchio here, and we are continuing to handicapping these games down the stretch of your Easter Sunday. But I wanted to take a few moments here to take a look at Shohei Ohtani and the season that he's been having and coming back off the paternity list today to try to do some more damage. If we look at his statistics this season so far, 288 is a batting average, 6 home runs, 8 RBI, and 5 stolen bases. How does that play into how he's factoring into the rest of the National League? Well, if we look at certain markets, he's the favorite just about everywhere to win the MVP in the National League in 2025. I'm looking at the FanDuel Sportsbook right now, Tom, a plus 210 price, followed by the red-hot Corbin Carroll. So if we look at Ohtani's season, and let's even take out the equation that he probably will return to the mound. Is he a dead giveaway as the favorite, or guys like Corbin Carroll are scorching hot in the same division? Can somebody catch Shohei Ohtani?
I think Corbin Carroll can catch him in terms of production. Pete Alonso's off to a great year. Soto's not off to the start we necessarily expected, but I think it's tough for me to break this down without factoring in him returning to the mound. As you know, you said you wanted to exclude that, but here's what it comes down to for me. And I've said this before across SportsGrid. I think I could say this situation where both things are true. That's a terrible number for Ohtani for the MVP market, but it's probably the bet to make. I'm not saying I am making that bet, but once he gets back to the mound, and even if he is an average pitcher, if he's an average pitcher plus 30, 35, 40 home runs and 90 or 100 RBIs, he's just going to win it. That's just what it comes down to. He will win that award just because that's what's going to happen. Even if Corbin Carroll does amazing things, steals more bases, hits for higher average, whatever it might be, Ohtani's still going to win it. And it's a situation where I don't like the odds, but I think he's going to win it.
And again, because even if you don't think he's going to win it, you have to pick somebody who's actually going to win it over him, because Corbin Carroll has been absolutely spectacular. If he keeps up his numbers, he probably does win the MVP, which is why he's at a 5-1 price, not a 15 or 20 to 1 right now. He's been spectacular, but it feels to me like Ohtani, like slump-proof, maybe not the right word, but like Ohtani going in long stretches where he doesn't produce just doesn't seem possible with how many runners in scoring position, even from the bottom of the lineup as he's a leadoff batter, or just starting the game off with a base knock and coming around scoring a run. Like the RBI will be there, the home runs will be there, the batting average is going to be there, the runs scored would be there, and then if he does come back and pitch, you have those added extracurriculars that we talk about. Tatis is out there, Tucker's having a good season, Alonso's been phenomenal so far for the Mets, and Bryce Harper getting hot here as these summer months start to kick in. It is a fun market, but again, I don't think anybody's sitting on this side saying, you know what, Ohtani and everybody else, like I would still bet Ohtani than everybody else.
It really is the case. And I would love to see a world where Ohtani was still in the AL, because we would have an awesome Carroll.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm just saying, even just from the NL perspective, between Kyle Tucker, like you said, Alonso, and then Corbin Carroll, like, we would be in for an awesome market. And then if it was Ohtani, Judge, and Bobby Witt, we would have two phenomenal markets to break down. We'd actually have some like really good talking points. That's really not the case.
Yeah, no, we'll see it play out. And again, week to week, we'll update these markets here, but it does feel like the two titans in each, the NL and the AL, Shohei Ohtani and also Aaron Judge, maybe runaway victors with this, and maybe so. They're that good, and we'll see how many statistics they can put up over the next couple weeks. Let's keep moving in the handicapping markets. We'll get to the 4 o'clock hour, 4:07 p.m. Eastern first pitch, 9:27, 9:28. That's San Francisco and Los Angeles. It's Verlander versus Kikuchi, the left-handed pitcher. This line across the board, depending where we're shopping at, -115s, -110. So a de facto pick 'em, and a total that opened up at 8.5 that we now see has moved to 9s across the board. San Francisco and L.A. What are we looking at here for you, Tom?
So this is we're going to tease this a little bit, where we're going to introduce this. Yep. We're going to get to some later segments. I'll talk about this game a little bit later. So I want to preface things by saying there's more info to come. Don't worry. Mm-hmm. The Angels are not good. That's where I want to start things off with. The Angels are not good. They got off to this great start. Throughout the entire season, they're coming in. This is versus righties, at least, right-handed pitching. A 196 ISO, which would put them as the 4th best in the league. They have a 101 WRC+, 25% strikeout rate, 6.6% walk rate. I have been on the record to say the Angels are not as good as their record, and things will return to form for them. Their hot start is not sustainable. Over the past week, just since the 13th, they have a 34% strikeout rate, a 2% walk rate, a 110 ISO, and a 44 WRC+. Oddly enough, things have fallen back down to earth for the Angels, despite the fact that I don't think Verlander is amazing, which is one of the points I'm trying to make as I kind of buried the lead. That I'll be talking about Verlander later. We'll get to that, but this game is about the Giants coming away with a victory. Even though I don't think Verlander's amazing, Kikuchi is an average pitcher. The Giants, their offense is moving. Give me the Giants. I don't know if the runs are going to be there just because I don't trust the Angels. I think the Giants could realistically win this game 6-1.
Yeah, a couple of those handicapping talking points, Tom, which I always love, which we bring up on this show, because you try to get that ebb and flow, because there is something to a batter being really hot, a pitcher being really hot, or a hot start for a batter who's starting to cool it off, and none less than the Los Angeles Angels, because Verlander isn't a great pitcher at this point in his career. Now, strikeout numbers a little bit lower. He's 20th today out of 30 in the xFIP numbers, and then you say, well, hold on, Donnie. I'm looking at statistics, just raw power numbers against right-handed pitching for the Angels, and they look like the 1923 Yankees right now. Like everybody's ISO power numbers number is high. Everybody's weighted on base percentage looks fantastic. Like those numbers move, and then you start to get into some of the details. Like let's just say I really like Jorge Soler, 250 ISO, 364 weighted on base percentage, 69 bats against right-handed pitching. He's been fine. But then the other guys, you say, well, man, Hoppy got off to such a hot start. 48 times he's been to the plate against right-handed pitching, Tom. A 277 ISO and a 364 weighted on base percentage. Last couple of days, starting to get cold. You take a look at Paris. The same thing, like, hey, man, Kyron Paris turned on the gas. 46 bats against right-handed pitching. A 300 ISO in the season and a 400 weighted on base percentage. Don, you got to go with him. But he's certainly turned cold at this point. So it's just trying to battle who's hot, who's cold, and where you factor on. Because, yes, the current season makes some sense, but also like to see, like, hey, man, this guy started out hot, 3 or 4 games without a base hit. Do I want to take him today and sort of back that up? So I love the fact that you got into that, where the optics on the season totals for the Angels look fantastic power-wise, but lately don't look so great. In the previous couple games between these two teams, you see the Angels losing 2-0. You see the Angels winning 3-2. We're not exactly talking about 7, 8, 9, or 10 runs scored here. So I don't want to say it's a buyer beware, but I think Tom might be on to something at this point. How much longer are we going to see the red-hot Angels, or is it just the Angels we anticipated from the jump this season finally getting back to where they are supposed to be? It's fun. It's why we handicap. It's why we get in the mix at this point here. More Major League Baseball action. It's pro baseball today. We'll be right back.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all. It's
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rhythm. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of thoughts.
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Easter Sunday doubleheader. And you might say, you know what? Nationals, Rockies, not that interesting, not that important. Anytime you play at Coors Field, it's always important because we're looking at those statistics and saying, hey, did you see the game yesterday? Home runs galore, hits galore, runs galore. Maybe we see a replay today, but let's take a look, Tom. And again, betting philosophies for you on a doubleheader, regardless of Coors Field or if it's played down in Miami. How do you approach the doubleheader during the Major League Baseball season?
Generally, I say if Team A wins the first game, I'll probably just be on Team B in the second game, at least just from a money line perspective. We generally get, their bullpens are stretched, and especially in that second game, it does allow for props to come through, especially later in the game, which is nice to see. Outside of Coors, dealing with the Rockies, I would be inclined to lean to the Nats on both games, just because I don't have faith in the Rockies. So general doubleheaders, it's 1-1. One team wins one, the other one's the other. But I generally don't want to bet money on the Rockies if I don't have to.
Let's see what the today brings, because it is a doubleheader. Game number 1, 3:10. Game number 2, 8:10 Eastern here. Let's take a look at the first one. 9:07, 9:08 on the rotation. 3:10 as the first pitch here. It's Irving pitching for the Washington Nationals, going up against Freeland for the Rockies. You take a look at this game. Opened up at 9.5, and it's gone to 10.5 here across the board at most outlets. But a true pick'em in this game. Now, here's what's interesting for me. Like Kyle Freeland, you don't really put him up here with the best pitchers in the game. But on the card today, Tom, he has the lowest xFIP out of the 30 pitchers that I have rated today, going up against Irvin, who's right around 12th or 13th here. Any thought processes here to the total in this game before we get to a side as it starts?
Yeah, my thought process for the total in this game is that I love the total. And at least when you're looking on the FanDuel Sportsbook, it is a 10.5 total. So we're going to say 10, 11 runs, whatever it might be. You lose by the hook, you win by the hook. 10 or 11 runs. Every single player for an RBI is at plus money. This is not a massive hitting team visiting. Sorry, Sam. We're going to say when Ohtani for an RBI is going to be minus 150 for an RBI. Betts is going to be minus 150. Every single player on both teams is at plus money for an RBI. So we can really have some fun with this game. If we're expecting the offense, we're in a good spot. So whether you want to look to James Wood, your guy, Josh Bell, plus 130, plus 135. Those may not be massive numbers as we've seen other spots at a plus 180 number, but plus money for RBIs at Coors Field is objectively good.
Let's take a look, too, because the matchups. Freeland is a lefty. That lineup for the Nationals this season hasn't hit lefties all that well. James Wood, who's a lefty, is actually pounding left-handed pitching. But outside of that, Alex Call, low ISO. Rosario, low ISO. Low ISO. Cruz, Garcia, Young, Adams, Nunez, all not powering up at this point here. So we'll see how it factors in. But it is Coors. It's 60-degree temperatures. Not terrible, but there is a light wind blowing in around 9 miles per hour from left field here. Now, the guy I want to talk about on the opposite mound, saying, well, how can Jake Irving do at this spot? Well, it's not a great lineup per se for the Colorado Rockies, but it still is Colorado. And then I take a look at estimating that 6-hole today. My guy, Mickey Moniak, former number 1 overall pick for the Philadelphia Phillies, that sort of flamed out wherever he's been. 35 at-bats, a 312 ISO power number, to 349 weighted on base percentage, and a low K rate against right-handed pitching here. Moniak's on my radar today, Tom. How you feel about that?
I love it. He came up with he had a home run yesterday, right? He had a 2-run home run to tie the game at 2-2, if I remember. Between him and Kyle Farmer, that's where we want to look. Tovar, they just placed him on the IL. Michael Toglia has been off to a horrible start with an over 40% strikeout rate, but he did have a grand slam the other day at the Dodgers. So there's some offensive potential. These may not be household names when we're looking at power just on a daily basis for RBIs, but there's some real potential in both games today.
So what Tom's actually trying to say here, we'll start from his perspective. Freeland's going to absolutely dominate, and all of the runs are going to come from the Colorado Rockies. And also, Sam, our producer behind us, says, what would be best if the Washington Nationals and the Baltimore Orioles just combined forces here, because there's no reason for a Washington Nationals team to exist. So we're getting everything lumped into one in this game. But also, game number 2, Lord is on the mound for one side, which would be the Nationals, and then Sensatel on the other side. Are we getting runs game number 2? Because I actually, to be honest, Tom, I think I might like game number 2 better than game number 1. Stretched out bullpens here, that thin air. Let's get after it.
Yeah, and it's the same situation where the numbers are slightly different where in terms of the RBIs, but again, a 10.5 total. Brad Lord, a pitcher, as Sam, our producer, as we continue to allude to, he is a Nationals fan, but a highly touted prospect coming up. He can strike out hitters. It is theoretically a good spot for him if there's a watered-down Rockies lineup. I think there's a chance that he goes over his strikeout prop, that is, but the game still flies over just because we're going to see runs, and it's Coors Field, and bad bullpens mean scoring.
Watered down goes hand in hand. Coors Light, watered down. Coors Field, watered down. That Coors lineup, watered down as well. Let's get after it, baby. It's Easter Sunday.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen
Just a little
experience.
flyer, couple of thoughts.
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two teams hoping for playoff aspirations and a deep playoff run here, and specifically have made some of those runs in the past. That's Houston and San Diego. We're going to handicap that game in just a few moments here, but just taking a look at the pitchers on the mound today, as good as it gets, at least from a perspective of they've done well in the past. It's Dylan Cease here taking on Framber Valdez. If we look at Cease so far as 2025 statistics, it's very interesting here. It's 20 and a third innings pitched. Look at the ERA at 6.64. And you might say to yourself, Tom, that is a ridiculously bad ERA, and it is. But you take a look at the xFIP numbers. It's a 3.41. You take a look at the FIP numbers. It's a 2.97. Is this one of those looks that, even though it's early in the season, that he's just getting a little bit unlucky right now?
He's getting really unlucky, and a lot of this happened during the start at the Athletics at Sacramento, where they put up a ton of runs in the first two innings. And this has kind of been the Dylan Cease experience. As someone that has rostered him on my Dynasty team, I'm well aware of this. He could have 8 strikeouts. He could also give up 8 runs. He could walk 5 guys, give up some home runs. The potential is always there for him. And I got to say, I think the Padres bounce back. I do not think they get swept. They are an awesome team. The unluckiness has been there for him. We have seen the Astros lineup be a little bit up and down. They get some runs, then they fail to score. They get some runs, they fail to score. They were almost no hit last week versus Tyler Anderson, who's terrible, from the Angels. And Cease is a far better pitcher. So I think the Padres right the ship today. Cease is great. The strikeouts will be there. I think the other side of things with Framber Valdez are far more interesting. When it comes to him this season, he's never been a big strikeout pitcher, right? So what are your thoughts on the Padres lineup? Because I think they break through.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna because I do like both of these lineups per se, but against this pitching matchup, which makes it interesting because we just talked about Dylan Cease, right? That high ERA and a really high whip rate of 1.5. You take a look at Framber Valdez, 22 innings pitched this season so far. Look at the ERA also approaching 5. But if I have him on my card today with the xFIP numbers, which I love, he's 5th out of 30, which means a 3.20 xFIP number and a FIP number of 3.39. So it's another one of those where it's like, Okay, the ERA is high, but it shouldn't be that high, and we'll see if some of those numbers come down, and 2 pedigree pitchers nonetheless. So for handicapping this game, Tom, 9:29, 9:30 in the rotation, a 7:10 start tonight. It is the Sunday night baseball game. You look at the total, open up at 7.5. Hasn't moved at all. Still sitting at 7.5. Look at the line itself, right around a -125 overnight. Most outlets, -125 to -30. So that hasn't changed here. If we look at some of the markets here, just with who is betting which way, the money line numbers speak. About 65% of them coming in on San Diego as the slight underdog tonight in this game. Do you agree that the betting public's like, you know what? An underdog price with Cease in San Diego, I'll take that.
Absolutely agree with that. Cease and the Padres come away with the win. They avoid being swept. And I think we're going to see more offense than people anticipate. And I'm expecting it to come from the Padres side of things versus lefties this year, the Padres offense, that is. They have a 17.5% strikeout rate, the third lowest in the league. They have a 150 ISO. They have a 106 WRC+. They're looking good despite not having my guy Jackson Merrill, who I desperately want back in the lineup. They're awesome. I know Bogarts hasn't been the same player he was over the past few weeks. It's been a slow week for him. But you give me the top of that lineup with Tatis, Luis Arraez, Manny Machado. You want to throw in a Gavin Sheets in there, and then a Xander Bogaerts. I think the offense is going to be there. I think that Valdez is a good pitcher, and the xFIP numbers do suggest that he will continue to be better than he currently is, but he's not a dominant strikeout pitcher. I see some runs, not necessarily from home runs, though.
Yeah, one of those games, again, that you look at, it's the battle of the ERA versus the analytics, where you know the good starts are on the horizon from both of these guys outside of the current ERAs that they do have. It's just a factor matter of who's going to step up. Now, also, you take a look at 78 degrees in Houston. Unless it's like 76.1 degrees, they don't open the roof down there in Houston. So we're not going to get the heat and the elements into the ballpark, which is a shame because when you see that ballpark open as opposed to close, it's a completely different look and vibe to that stadium. It's a shame they never open it, but I'm not anticipating here, Tom, too many runs being in this game. I lean more towards the under than the over this one, but we'll factor that out. Sunday Night Baseball, the last game on the card, and we'll see who actually takes care of business. But again, 2 top 10 pitchers on the card today with xFIP numbers, but bottom 10, you could probably say, in ERA, the way they both factor in here. So let's have some fun and start to get out some of these picks here at the second half of the second hour. One of our favorite segments that we have is a Sell Me Something, which means you might be taking a player from a bad baseball team. You might be taking a player from a good baseball team. It's just a matter of selling the public on what you think is going to happen today on a certain player or a certain team with a prop bet, Tom. Your answer today to have for the people is selling them something. Who is it?
Yeah, let's get into it. I alluded to this earlier in the show. The Giants, the Angels, Justin Verlander is going to have his best start of the season. That is what I'm trying to sell. Specifically, we can look to over 16 and a half outs recorded, -125. As I have noted, there are multiple factors in this. A, the Angels are not as good as how they started. They are significantly struggling right now. And there's a portion to be said that Verlander is getting a little bit unlucky. There's also a point to be saying that he just wasn't as good. He's not as good of a pitcher now as he once was. But I see that his BABIP is due to regress. He's giving up way too many hits. I think that will get in line. The strikeouts haven't been there for Verlander, but he's now facing the team again over the past week. The Angels, 34.8% strikeout rate versus righties, which is dead last in the league, along with a 44 WRC+. They are terrible on offense right now. I know Verlander has struggled, but I like this to the spot saying, like, hey, he can still be a good pitcher. Not a great pitcher, a good pitcher in that rotation behind someone like Logan Webb. Giants come away with the victory.
Out there in Orange County, California, warm temperatures out there for that Angels game today. We'll see how it plays against that lineup and see if the Angels can get back to what their basics were early in the season or just stay cold at some outlets at the plate. For me, selling me something, again, I'm going to go the direction of a really bad baseball team. Why won't you just move on and forget about that team? That team is the Chicago White Sox. Today, they were playing in Boston, and I'm going to go with a familiar opponent of those Boston Red Sox fans. That's Andrew Benintendi. I say, hey, man, I wish he was still back on the certain Sox team. That's not the White Sox, but he's not. He's on the White Sox today, going up against Tanner Houck. Last year, Tanner Houck was fantastic across the board, Tom. 741 batters faced to lefties alone. An 0.85 ISO and a 266 weighted on base percentage. That's absolutely fantastic. This year, a little bit of a different story. 47 batters he's faced from the left-hand side as a right-handed pitcher, a K rate of only 12.8%, a walk rate of 15%. And you take a look at the ISO power number, it's 333. Weighted on base percentage, 551. So I'm going to take the best left-handed batter in the lineup today for those Chicago White Sox, and it's Benintendi. Through 35 at-bats, he's going up against right-handed pitching. His ISO power number, 281. Weighted on base percentage, 417. K rate, only 14%, and he's batting second in the lineup, which should get him some extra at-bats today. So my play on Sell Me Something, over 1.5 bases on Andrew Benintendi at a plus 120 price. Keep in mind, the wind not necessarily blowing out, and it's cooler temperatures in Boston at 60 degrees, but the wind is actually blowing from left foul pole to right foul pole. Left-handed batter, knock one around Pesky's pole. You might get 4+ bases today from Benintendi. But for me, Tom, just going to keep it simple. I'm going to take the 1.5 at plus money. Give me a couple good swings today.
Absolutely love it. Like you said, familiar spot for Benintendi, that left-handed spot at Fenway. Again, I'm going with Verlander for that. You're going with the hitter. And again, keeping it relatively simple. Like we're attacking Houck, who was good, bad pitcher this season. I'm attacking the Angels. They started off hot. They're bad right now. I'm selling you on that. You're selling me on that. I think we're in a good spot.
I think we are in a good spot today. And again, you got the dichotomy of the card today. There's some warmer conditions here. There's some cooler conditions. There's some wind blowing out. There's some wind blowing in. So a lot of different things to differentiate. On the card itself, because the next two segments, Tom and I are going to give out plays and a lot of fun stuff here. But today, I do generally like the card, but there's certain spots that I'm really liking the tattoo. By the way, did you ever get a card, Tom, where it's like, it looks too good to be true? And you might be using your entire bankroll on one day. Not only like one play, but I like 5 batters in this game, 8 batters in this game, 6 batters in this game. Like some of those days are exciting, which I had for the past couple of days. We'll see if it plays out today. But just your general thoughts on, oh no, this card might be actually too good at this point.
That's what we get, and it reminds me a lot of NFL sometimes, where it's like we're getting the best pass offenses against the worst pass defense. We're getting like 4-inch Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra St. Brown all going against the worst defenses. There's no way they don't all go for 100. There's no way all these hitters don't have 3+ HRR tonight. That's what we could see in a lot of these games.
Absolutely. Pitcher props coming up. Tom's bombs coming up and much more. Don't go anywhere, people.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of thoughts.
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Top pitching props. You came to the right section today. There's 2 pitchers on the mound that Tom and I have identified, which will have some success, or at least we think they will be. And by the way, over the previous couple shows, nice little pitching props, cashing tickets left and right. So, Tom, I'm going to start with you first. What pitcher are you eyeing up today that's going to deliver for the people?
That's going to be going to Joe Ryan for the Minnesota Twins, and I alluded to this earlier in the show. Always, shopping for the best lines available. I got it at -130 on DK. I saw it at -140 on Fanatics, and let me double check what it is on FanDuel because it's up to -154 on FanDuel. So pretty big differential. Joe Ryan's a great strikeout pitcher again, 27%. 2.4% walk rate, which I love. 22 innings pitched this year, only 2 walks. The Braves have a 26.4% strikeout rate versus righties. It is the second worst in the league. We look to Joe Ryan, 8, 4, 6, 5 strikeouts. In these different starts this year, he's essentially at that number. The 4 versus Kansas City, a little bit earlier in the year when Kansas City was actually putting up some offense. They have some good hitters in their lineup. They don't strike out a whole lot, but I like that he can get to that number. And the Braves, I am not buying into them being fully back yet with their offense. So give me the strikeouts for Joe Ryan.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there in that environment. But again, you're waiting for those bats to wake up in Atlanta. Why not just keep on pressing them while they are down? Now, here's my pitching prop. You ready for this? Most people would say, oh, man, let's go down to the play the Marlins. We want to have that pitching environment. Maybe go out to San Francisco. Maybe go up to T-Mobile here. Good pitchers' ballparks. I'm doing the exact opposite today, and I think I do have a decent angle. We're going to Coors, and I'm taking a pitcher's prop. No, not to get knocked around, but a pitcher to have a pretty solid day. You know that pitcher's going to be? It's Kyle Freeland of the Colorado Rockies. The reason being, I look at the Nationals lineup and the struggles that they have had against left-handed pitching this season. Outside of left-handed batter James Wood, nobody's had a good season statistic-wise here going up against left-handed pitching. And Kyle Freeland, as much as you say you can't take a pitcher in Colorado, on this early season, number 1 in xFIP on the card today out of 30 rated pitchers. So then I take a look and say, okay, how can I use this to my advantage and get plus money? We love betting plus money at times. Under 2.5 earned runs against Kyle Freeland today in his start. So you know what I would like, Tom, if they score a lot of runs? Get a base knock, then get a couple errors on the board together. So if he gives up runs, they're not earned runs because it's not total runs. It's earned runs today. I'm looking for the cooling of the bats today for Washington early to start that game. And before things get crazy with Coors Magic at the end, he'll be out of that game and gives up less than 3 earned runs. Donnie, you're nuts. Donnie, you're crazy. It's Coors. That could happen in the first inning. Yes, it can happen in the first inning. I'm just trusting my early season statistics and pulling a wild card out of a hat, Tom, in Colorado.
I mean, it's certainly a tough look, but you said you wanted some errors, and we're talking about the Rockies' defense, so we could be penciling that in every other day, and I think they're due for some errors because it's the Rockies.
Look at that, rooting for errors in a game. They gave up 7. Yeah, but only 2 were earned there. Cash that ticket. Let's see if we can thread that needle right down the middle. Now, one of our favorite segments of the day, and I haven't hit too many of these just yet. Tom's Bombs. Let's talk home run props today. You got 3 guys on your card, Tom, you're looking at. Who are those 3 guys?
Yeah, some big plus money today. Let's go to Trevor Story to start for the Boston Red Sox. He's off to a phenomenal start going up against Sean Burke. The numbers really match up, as I continuously talk about over the years, about 40-40 marks, about pitchers who allow 40% fly ball rate, 40% hard contact rate, and then the pitcher that, a hitter that generates those. And that's what we have from Sean Burke, a 44% fly ball rate allowed to righties, a 37.8% hard contact rate allowed. Story crushing the ball right now. His ISO versus righties, it's only 157. However, I do think he's due for some positive regression with a 42% hard contact rate. As we said, a little bit of wind blowing out. Hopefully, opposite field hit from him. Turning to Atlanta, Ryan Jeffers. Maybe people don't know who this is. A catcher for the Twins. He has no home runs on the season. However, Grant Holmes for the Braves, not a good pitcher to extremely average pitcher. A 52% hard contact rate allowed to righties and a 47% fly ball rate allowed. Combined with Jeffers, 48% fly ball rate, 35.5% hard contact rate. These things are right on line. And then finally, turning to Austin Wells, this is more of a play about the ballpark and the number. As we know, it's super high, 89, 90 degrees down in Tampa. Ryan Pepio has struggled with lefties and righties. I think there will be some amount of lineup protection for Austin Wells where they may not be able to pitch around him because Bellinger, Goldschmidt, Chisholm, and of course Judge may be on base in front of him. And we get an awesome number with a little bit of heat, a little bit of wind, whatever it might be down in Tampa. Austin Wells plus 520.
Look at that. Some big number of tickets out there. And also, I love it. Not household names, which is still fun because just because they don't have a big name on the back of the jersey doesn't mean they can't connect and drive one into the seats. For me, I'm going to keep it simple today. I'm going with a little bit more named guys, but also if we start with Kyle Tucker, who's been ripping the cover off of the baseball for the Chicago Cubs, going up against Merrill Kelly, who's had his struggles this year against left-handed batters. But Donnie, the wind's blowing in. It's cooler temperatures. What, nobody ever hit a home run in 50-degree temperatures and a 10-mile-an-hour wind blowing in from right field? Kyle Tucker's going to do that today. Why? Through his 69 at-bats going up against right-handed pitching, a 333 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 476 and the low K rate, which means that ball will be in play. Number 2 on my list. Let's take a look at Bryce Harper at a plus 390 clip today in Philadelphia. Why do we like Bryce Harper? 55 at-bats going up against right-handed pitching, a 244 ISO and a 399 weighted on-base percentage. 68 degrees in Philadelphia, and also going up against Connor Gillespie, who does have an ISO power number through 43 batters from the left-hand side at 325. Bryce Harper, I'm calling you now. And also, the New York Yankees had to get involved. Like Tom's picking Austin Wells out here. We're going multiple home run shots down there at Steinbrenner Field for the New York Yankees. That's Aaron Judge, 64 at-bats against right-handed pitching this year, a 226 ISO and a 444 weighted on-base percentage. Going up against Ryan Pepio, who against right-handed batters, a 327 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 440. Plus money prices, 6 total shots between me and Tom. Tom's bombs, Donnie's dingers, getting out of town. Let's get after it. How about that?
Great start to a lot of these games could be in play. A lot of these batters hitting early in the lineup, which we'd like to see. Harper, Judge, get him out there early, Story, give him some good spots. And, man, weather's warming up. Home runs are bound.
Smashing baseballs out there, trying to find the Easter Bunny in the seats today. And also, get some of that chocolate. By the way, you big candy guy? Like, I love candy, and I love Easter. Mr. Goodbars. I mean, everybody loves a good Mr. Goodbar on Easter.
So are candy or chocolate, is there a difference? Are we going to break that down next?
It's all goes in my stomach, man. We can break it down all over the place. We go an extra hour on here. They won't mind. Let's do it. Why not? Chocolate, candy. What do you like? It's Easter. We like home runs. More plays next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of thoughts.
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It is Easter Sunday. The conversations do continue with which plays are we going to have. We have plenty of prop plays to give you during this final segment here. Don't get me twisted. But I do have this question because, growing up as a kid, there are choices that you make. And I'm not even going to talk about what's your favorite candy. I just have to have this. There's two things that used to approach it. You either got the big, Easter egg chocolate egg in the middle of the basket with coconut and or peanut butter, or you got the giant bunny that was just straight up hollow on the inside, or it was filled with peanut butter or just completely filled with chocolate there. But also answer me this. I used to wait on those when I was a kid. I'd eat all the candy and I would leave the giant rabbit in there or the giant egg for last. Did you have a concept, Tom, of your Easter egg basket and how you approached it?
I always remember the Easter egg bunnies that were solid. They weren't massive,
yes.
But they were a decent size, but those were solid. And, you got to go and go straight from the top. Just bite the ears, bite the head, go from there. But you got to be careful with it. That thing heats up quickly. If you're holding that thing turns into a mess real quick.
But I'm telling you, I loved the coconut eggs, man. I'm just, again, today, hopefully the kids got some of that stuff. I'm stealing it today. But you know what else we got to steal, Tom? Plays and winning plays for the people out there today. So once again, we're going to go over some prop bets. But before we do that here, which way do we want to go? Do we want prop bets for the people? Do we want maybe the dog of the day first, Tom? I'll let you start here. Which should we go here? Which way are we going?
Let's dog, prop. Each of us
dog.
Then the props. A dog of the day, Cardinals, money line. I think they come away with the win. Sonny Gray's an awesome pitcher. Yep. I've often said this at times where I'm willing to buy into good pitchers, especially at plus money, and especially when a team is trying to avoid a sweep. We rarely see teams going on these long losing streaks. The White Sox and the Rockies notwithstanding, I will take Sonny Gray versus Clay Holmes 10 out of 10 times. It's really that simple.
Now, here's the awesome and the interesting thing, too, because lines do change all the time. My dog, I don't think there's a dog at a lot of sports books right now, and that is the Astros at a plus 105 bouncing around. So it's probably more likely than a pick 'em. But for me, home pitcher on the mound in this one, two good ball clubs here, a close line like a true coin flip. I'll take the plus money. Hit my dog play last week. I'm going to go again. The Astros in this game, home against Cease. I think Valdez does get the extra tip of the cap tonight in a close one. We'll see how that one plays out. So there's a couple dogs for the people, the Cardinals and the Astros. And the best part about it is, hey, if one of them wins, at least we have plus money for the show for those dogs here at this action. So let's hit a couple props here, Tom, of what you're digging on today.
Oh, props. Let's get it started early. Ohtani for 2+ hits, not bases, not the HRR market, 2 hits. This is at plus 230 at DraftKings. It was plus 125 at FanDuel. That is a significant market differential. So there's value in just betting on the best line that you can. It's not like we're talking about plus 125 and plus 145. We're talking about Ohtani at plus 230 for 2 hits. Buying into a little bit of the narrative coming off the paternity list. A little dad strength. He's got the baby narrative going in his favor. I like that. Again, I think Molly is a good pitcher, but he still has to prove it to me. We're dealing with a very small sample size of 19 and 25 innings over the past 2 years. He's up at 20 plus this year. Don't like that. RBI market for the Yankees. Paul Goldschmidt plus 160. Cody Bellinger, you said he's struggling a little bit at plus 180. Again, we need one of those to cash in order to come out net positive. Really like that. And then probably my favorite play of the day is Ellie De La Cruz over 1.5 hit run RBI combined to get minus 105. I like the Reds today. I like the hitting environment in Camden Yards, I should say. And then I like the matchup against Charlie Morton, who's been struggling, and Ellie is significantly better versus righty pitchers he is this year versus lefties. Give me Ellie 1.5 HRR.
Makes a lot of sense at this point. Look at that Bellinger down there. Just sooner or later, the kid's got to get the better of a pitcher specifically. Now that he's hitting down there in Tampa, that short left field porch, one swing of the bat, crack into the seats you go and cash some tickets. I'm going to go with a couple team totals here on my radar, and I bought low. The Tigers team total sits at 3.5 at a minus 135 price, and also the Cubs team total identical at 3.5, and the juice at minus 135. Now, the reason I take a look at the Orioles, I love this when I was handicapping this morning before the pitching change came in, which meant a right-handed pitcher was going up against the Baltimore Orioles, which they have been absolutely slaying. Now, that does change a little bit, and actually we have to get the updated numbers. Suter's on the mound. Not a great pitcher per se, but the optics change slightly here with some of the guys in the lineup as they're pitching and hitting between left-handed pitching and right-handed pitching. So it's on the docket today. We'll leave it up there as it goes. So 3 team totals, but also I do have a nice little hitter prop parlay today, which is that fun 1 hit, 1 run, 1 RBI market in Philadelphia, Tom. Give me Schwarber, give me Harper, give me Stott. 1-1-1 plus money, and the way we do it.
Love that. I'll be on the Phillies as well. Of course, you always can catch Donnie and I on Twitter, tweeting things out, whatever might be our best plays of the day.
The best show of the day. You just watched it right here, people. It's Pro Baseball Today. The best part about it, Tom and Donnie, we'll be back next Sunday as well. Enjoy your Easter Sunday. We're out of here.